That helps us collect our waste. Over. Locked. Floating in zero gravity, it's, the closest thing I think it is like on the ground is maybe if you were in water, if you were floating in water. But unlike water up here, I right now I'm floating, I'm not touching anything. If I push off of one wall with just a little bit of force, I can float to the other end of the space station. And so it's a lot of fun. I feel like I'm 5 years old and playing and doing somersaults all the time. Over. That's a great question. So those two Starliner astronauts, Butch and Sonny, they're part of my crew now, and so I launched with Alex in a Crew Dragon, and it has 4 seats, so we launched with 2 empty seats, so that in February, when we're all done with our mission up here doing research, we'll all 4 be able to go home together. Over. My scariest moment in space. That has to be my first launch. We ended up, the rocket malfunctioned about 2 minutes into launch, and so we aborted right as my rocket was coming apart. So that was probably the scariest. But we came down to a nice parachute landing. I did bring a few souvenirs, little personal things that I'll take pictures of when I'm up here. And does space smell? When we connect a new vehicle to the space station, and you open those hatches, there's this metallic smell that is very distinct when you have a chance to smell something that's been exposed to the vacuum of space. Over. This question. So what do we do if we run out of food? Well, we don't run out of food. Being here close to Earth, because we're in orbit, low Earth orbit around the Earth, only a few hundred miles above the surface, we get routine cargo ships that bring us up resupply. And so we always keep a stock of food up here so that we don't run out. But when we start going to destinations that are further away, like Mars, we're not going to be able to take all our food with us. So some of the science that we're doing here is how do we grow plants? How do we grow our own food so that we don't have to take it in packages with us? And that's how we're going to be able to make it to Mars. Over. We're pretty spoiled up here. We've got lots of connectivity. We can connect to the internet. I can see videos. I can talk to my family. I can do video conferencing with my family and friends, and watch movies and TV. But without doubt, the most entertaining thing that I do is floating over to an open window and looking down on the Earth and just watching continents and oceans drift by below. Over. I think we've all looked up at the dark night sky and seen stars, and on the darkest of nights we see so many stars you can't even count them, and you see the Milky Way galaxy, and when we look out the window up here on the space station, when it's dark, I can see even more than I've ever seen looking up from the ground. And so it's really hard for me to understand the limits of what I see. It just seems to go on and on forever. Over. We can see evidence of moon landings now. When we look at the surface of the moon and our previous landing sites with either satellites or telescopes from the ground. So our equipment is still there and the footprints are still there, but this time around when we go back, we're trying to go to the South Pole. Previously we